All right, so we're back talking with our second in-depth, kind of getting right into the main grit of what we're talking about here. So before, we were talking about axle, working over your axles. It's fairly simple. Just run them, buff them out, you're pretty much set to go. Now the wheels are a little bit more in-depth. Remember what I've said from the very beginning. The more work you put on every single item, the better off you'll be. So that's really what it comes down to, guys. It is about putting more work than the guy next to you. So what we're going to do is we've started with our lathe. Now this can be, like I said, this can be done on a drill press. You put it in your little stand here. You put the block up to the drill press and you just flatten it out. This to me works a little easier because, like I said, I can do this inside the house and I don't need any power. So I just constantly turn. Takes about 5 to 10 minutes per wheel to get a nice flat edge. It is a pain. Don't get me wrong, this one is a pain. Okay, so once I do that, I would take it off. Now it also has the capability of doing the inside edge, flattening out that inside edge. That's really important for the front dominant wheel, the steer wheel, because that one's going to be riding the track up against this edge. So like on this particular one, there's a couple big giant nicks out of this that you'd want to make sure you take out when you do that. Now the next feature that this guy has here, so we've flattened the tread. So basically what this guy does is it allows us to sit there and flatten the treads. And we're just going to do it real, I mean, we're talking small turns. I mean, just micro amounts of turn, and we're going to spin it until we get a nice flat edge all the way across. Remember, we're worried about hops, not angle. Angle's not important. One thing I will tell you with this particular tool is make sure when you're doing this that you line the wheel up with the center. Don't use the numbers that they give you online or even the directions. It tends to be a little better, and I put the wheel so the face is facing the inside here. So I want it to be there, and that tends to keep it a little straighter in my opinion than versus putting the hub up against there. So that's just my opinion. Okay, now once we do that, we can flip our tool over and we use the hub shaver, and the hub shaver just goes on the end here, and we give that guy a spin, a few spins here, and we're going to keep an eye on it, making sure we're just taking off what we want to. And this can take a couple seconds, measuring on how sharp it is. We're just taking off that inside edge. Okay, and once we've got that inside edge all nice and hollowed down, you can't really see that, but there's a double step in the wheel. So right around that front face there's just 2 steps. We're going to take out that center step and kind of neck it down so it's angled on the inside, and that really does help these wheels go quite a little bit faster. Like I said, it's all about the little steps. So another thing that I do usually at this point is I'll take the wheel and I take the hub that's actually sticking out on the bottom and I chuck it right up in the drill. And what that allows me to do is I open it right up and I chuck it right up inside the drill. Okay? That allows me to do the front of the hub. So I'll take this now, I take my drill, put a little water on my sandpaper, and I just hold it in there, and I'll do that for a couple different grits of sandpaper until that sucker polishes right out. That's a huge advantage. Now this is kind of neat because you don't really need, at this point, you don't need this fancy little tool that holds it in place. You know, the little mandrel that holds it in place, and that's kind of nice. Sometimes, you know, if you don't want to use it, it's not a necessity. You can chuck it right up in the drill like that. It won't be as smooth, and it won't be quite as flat. What's nice about this is I can go ahead and bring it in. Now I want to do this before I buff the inside of my hub. Okay, so I want to do it before I do that, and the reason is because that's going to leave some marks in there from the actual screw that goes through there. Now this is where we use our nail file. We've talked a little bit about the nail file. So like I said, we've already shaved it flat. We've buffed the outside edge. We've come in, we've actually coned our inside hub. Now we can do that after that or right now, it doesn't really matter. You know, it's up to you. I use the 3 grit is the lowest I will go on it. And I'm just going to spin the drill and hold this guy up to it. I'm going to work it back and forth. And I just don't want to go forever long, but just until I see all of the gray go away. Okay, and I can see, you can see, I don't know if you guys can see this, but there's a nice black mark of actually what's coming off there. And I want to look at it and make sure I'm not taking off too much. We don't want to get rid of our little marks around the outside that says we haven't shaved the wheel down too much. So once we go 3, it's pretty simple here, guys. Go to your number 4. Go to your 4, and we're just going to do it just long enough to change the color. 5-6 seconds on each one. Doesn't take forever. And we go to the 5. Not super fast. That's the trick with plastic wheels. You go really fast or put this in your Dremel tool, you're going to melt that tire and it's never going to come out. And again, we're going to go to 6. There's already plenty of water left on there. And then just number 7. Now I'll do the same steps, and we're not going to show it here on video, but I do the same thing on the inside edge. Same thing on the outside. I'm going to mark up all the way through there. What I like about these guys, and again, you get these little guys at all of your makeup stores. Ask your wife. She may even have one sitting around, but they're called a 7-sided nail file. About $1.38 over there. We get ours at Ulta. That big fancy store. Don't tell your wife you're going. It'll cost you a fortune. But that, once we get that point now we can either, at this point, we can do the hub shaving on the outside if you're a little worried about that scarring up the hub. It doesn't seem to scar up the hub to me, so I kind of do it before. I check it, make sure there's no other marks, make sure it's nice and smooth. Now you can add graphite after this point if you want. It's up to you. Here's what I do. I take one of my, I always call them Tiberius swabs here. I'm going to go ahead and chuck that guy up inside there. Just inside my drill, nothing fancy. And make sure, the biggest trick is making sure it gets down the center. So I go ahead, before I do anything, I check it, make sure it's spinning nice and straight. I'm going to take a little bit, I use a 2-step process on this. Whatever polish you guys, there are tons of different companies out there. Whoever's close to you, use their polish. Doesn't matter to me what kind of polish you're using. The issue is, that you're using some kind of a polish. Now usually just that much, just enough to get it out of there is plenty. I run this for about 5 seconds. So I'll sit there and I'll run it. Okay, now I'd skip up. Maybe if I looked at it, I'd clean it out real good. Again, we're using the Dawn dish soap and a little bit of alcohol. And I didn't see, what I wanted to see. I could add a little bit more to my tip here. I put it in there and I run it. Just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sometimes I'll even run it in the opposite direction for just a couple seconds. We do not want to do high speed and lots of this. You can even do this with your fingers if you want. Okay, once that happens, you'll see a little white up there. This is where we're going to need one of our nice swabs. You can buy these at all the hobby stores. The nicer pipe cleaners. We're going to go clean it all the way out, get it all ready to go. And this wheel's prepped and ready to go. We want to make sure we put it in a bag and get it ready for our race. Okay, so we can, at that point, once it's all dry, we can go ahead and put our graphite on there if you want. Just kind of, I like the graphite because I feel it kind of fills in the cracks or any other marks I might have missed. But we're looking for that. Now, one thing I will tell you about wheels is I weigh all my wheels. And I put my lightest wheels in the front and my heaviest wheels in the back. So if you're only allowed to use the wheels that came with the kit, I weigh all 4 wheels, put the 2 heaviest in the back, the 2 lightest in the front. Real simple. And I look at it when they're going in there, I want to make sure I spin them all to make sure they're going really good. This is a great wheel at this point. No cheater wheel. We haven't sanded it down on the inside. We're just buffing it so it's nice and smooth. So, as always, thanks for tuning in, and look for our next video.